Hello, everybody. Welcome to Encountering God Ministries with Tom and Sarah. I'm your host, Tom and Sarah, and I want to just bless you. Do you like my shirt, by the way? A friend of mine got it for me from Madagascar. I love the shirt. So I wanted to wear it today in honor of our friends in Africa. So our purpose, as I've said before, is that we would encourage you, that we would build you up, that we would have you find the favor of the Lord in everything that you do, and that you would be able to have an opportunity. And that's what we do. We give opportunity for you to encounter God for yourself. It's one thing when everybody else does it and you feel gushy on the side, but it's another thing when you're able to encounter him on your own. So I want to go to chapter 2. And just by the way, while I'm here, if you wouldn't mind just going ahead and subscribing to my channel, or do the little thing for the notifications, go ahead and do that. Like the video, it really helps out a lot. So just wanted to throw that out there, if you wouldn't, if you wouldn't mind. Okay, so if we go to chapter 2, starting with verse 4, we're going to go verse 4 and 5, and I'm going to read them. But God, everybody say, but God. There's so many but gods in the Bible, okay? Usually they say, but God, after the fact that, you were once this, but God. Or you were lost in this thing, but God. And I love this. But God still loved us. Do you recall, or do you know that you can't make God not like you? We talked about that on a previous show, where we talked about Romans chapter 8, and nothing can separate us from the love of God. Well, the fact of the matter is, nothing can separate you from God's love. Okay? But God still loved us with such great love. So it doesn't matter what you do, God still loves you. Does that mean that he's okay with it? Of course not. He'll try to have you change. He'll try to make you more, because he paid the price to make you more like him. This is how he is. He is so rich in compassion and mercy. Even when we were dead and doomed in our many sins, he united us into the very life of Christ and saved us by his wonderful grace. I just love it. Now jump to verse 7. Throughout the coming ages, we will be the visible display of the infinite, limitless riches of his grace and kindness, which he showered upon us in Christ Jesus. For it was only through his wonderful grace that we believed in him. Nothing we did could ever earn this salvation, for it was the gracious gift from God that brought us to Christ. So no one will ever be able to boast, for salvation is never a human reward for good works or human striving. I love it. We have become his poetry, a recreated people that will fulfill the destiny he has given each of us. For we are joined to Jesus, the anointed one. Even before we were born, God planned in advance our destiny and good works, and we would do to fulfill it. Understand this, that God's love and God's power and God's anointing is limitless. It has no limits. It has no boundaries. It's huge. It's like, if you think about this, just think about this for a second. We have this, and I shared this on my Facebook Live today, but when this whole thing broke out, okay, there was a rush at the store for toilet paper, hand sanitizer, rubbing alcohol, bleach. I'm like, what in the world is everybody doing? It is born out of a poverty mentality that God will never supply for my needs. Now, I understand being prepared, okay? I get that, all right? But you can't allow that feeling of being prepared to justify a frenzy. My goodness, the stores looked like throwing meat to piranha. It was like all the, and I go to the store relatively early. I don't like getting up at 6 a.m., but missing buying toilet paper by an hour. Are you kidding me? Everybody's afraid they're going to be locked in their house for months. They were afraid in the Y2K thing. December 31st, all the trucks were going to be able to stop because there's no computers to tell them what to do, blah, blah, blah. Well, that, you know how that turned out. A lot of people were overstocked. In fact, my family, when I had my family, we would eat the stuff that we stored away because everything was fine. I remember the guy even that told everybody that this thing was going to happen and everything's going to shut down and we need to live in fear. And he didn't say it, but it turned out to be that's what he was thinking. It was sad. You don't have to live that way. God, that's a poverty mentality. It's like you were a slave and now we're going to live like slaves again. That's not God's design. David said this, and I've said this a number of times here, that God, I once was young, but now I'm old, and I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor one of his chosen begging bread. Another but God moment. So a lot of elderly are stuck without toilet paper because a lot of the youngins, they went out and took it all off. I mean, how much toilet paper do you need? Let's be real. You know, I get it. 2 cases, that'll last you 2 months with a family of 5. Well, you know, if you got 2 cases, that's going to last you a couple months, man. A month a case of toilet paper from Costco. See, you don't believe that God is an abundant God. You think that God is a God of lack, that God is a God who's never going to provide for you. You think, and many people, not just you, but many people think that God is locked into time and space, and he doesn't really know what's going on. You have to understand that if this pen was time and space, okay, this side would be the beginning of time, this side is the end of time, okay? And God is like me looking out. Oh, this is time. Okay, I see that happening. 2020, this virus, this plague is going to come about. I told some people about it beforehand. Okay, that it was going to happen and it's going to die as quickly as it came. Okay, got it. That's what it boils down to. Why do you think God had Moses take the children out of Egypt by first making him a prince of Egypt? So he could know what it's like to live in freedom and abundance. So when Israel came out of Egypt, they can live in freedom and abundance. Teach them how to do it. But even then, they were stuck in this poverty mentality. Oh no, the Egyptians are coming to get us. God gave them a fire by night to keep them warm and a cloud by day to keep them cool. And Egypt couldn't touch them. Really? Every day. They crossed the Red Sea on dry ground, and then God closes the Red Sea on the Egyptian army. News of that gets around, and all the people are afraid of the Israelites, even though they said we are grasshoppers in our own sight. Every day, God provided food for them that had the sustenance for them to maintain their lives. And he gave them a double portion on Saturday during the Sabbath, so they wouldn't have to, for Friday, so they wouldn't have to pick any on Saturday. Let's turn the page over here, Ephesians chapter 3, verses 18 and 19. This God is so vast. He says so much. Hang on a second. Let's go back to chapter 2, verse 4. But God still loved us with such great love, vast love. He's running out of, in Ephesians, Paul runs out of adjectives. He is so rich in compassion and mercy. Even when we were doomed, he saved us by his wonderful grace. He raised us up with Christ, the exalted one. In chapter 3, verse 18 and 19, then you will be empowered to discover, Paul's doing his prayer, then you will be empowered to discover what every holy one, what every saint experiences. And here it is, the great magnitude of the astonishing love of Christ in all its dimensions. I'm reading out of the Passion Translation. How deeply intimate and far-reaching is his love. How enduring and inclusive it is. Endless love beyond measurement that transcends our understanding. This extravagant love pours into you until you are filled to overflowing with the fullness of God. Picture it. You're not full until you're overflowing. Picture this. You are not full until you are overflowing. Get that in your heart. You are not full until you are overflowing. When Jesus told them to fill the water pots with water in John chapter 2, to fill it to the brim, it had to overflow. And Jesus turned that water into wine, all 6 of those vessels. And they had more than enough water. Stayed water. God is amazing. In John chapter 10, verse 10, you know the verse. John chapter 10, verse 10. The devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy, keep you in a poverty mentality. But I have come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. In Genesis, the 17th chapter, he says that this God, this El Shaddai, this God of more than enough. Understand, when you came to Jesus, your provision was paid for on the cross, because that's who Jesus is. Not only your salvation, not only your healing, but your provisions as well are taken care of. Give us this day our daily bread. You can do it. You can do it. God's love is amazingly, think about it. I'm going to share this testimony. This testimony is incredible. Back in 1975, we had college for a day. Yay, college for a day. And we were doing this thing. And as we were driving, it was a cold winter day, a chance of snow. We didn't know. We went to the Bible college, which was a number of miles away. My friend Frank drove. And as we were there, lightning, all of a sudden there's a bolt of lightning and heavy thunder. And then it starts to snow. We go into chapel, we come out, still snowing. We hang around the school, listen to the president's speech, who says, if you don't like it here, we'll help you pack your bags. And then come out, still snowing. My goodness gracious, what's going on? We're freaking out. So then we're driving home. Well, they had the plows out, so it was no big deal. They always do that. Plows in New Jersey, they come out and they do it, all the bus routes. So we were taking the bus routes home, and we got on the highway, which was a bus route. And we got on the highway, and we're driving, and we're doing great. And this car, I don't remember if it slid or spun out, or if it just cut us off, but something happened. So my friend Frank pulls in, and he hits this snowbank on the right-hand side. It wasn't a drift. It was from the plows. And he's in the snowbank, and we're stuck there. And we push the car out of the snowbank. And we look in the engine, can't start the car. We look in the engine, there's snow in the pulleys. There's snow by the fan belt. There's snow. So we're digging the snow out of it, coming out. How are we going to do this? All right. God gives us what we need, and abundantly. Okay. In different ways that we know how. So what happened was we're cleaning out the engine, and somebody starts the engine, and my friend Kevin, his fingers his hand goes like backwards like this, and his fingers get caught between the fan belt and the pulley. Okay. And they're crushed. I'm watching his fingers get crushed. So Frank runs out of the car, and he has this pocket knife. And I mean, literally, the knife couldn't cut butter if it had been hot and the butter was melted. It just couldn't cut it. It was just like, but he touches the fan belt, and the fan belt explodes, just goes bam like that. Kevin gets his fingers out. I'm making this a real short story. Kevin gets his fingers out, and he's like, they look like corkscrews. So what I do is I take off and I go to the hospital. It was about 1.5 miles, maybe 2 miles away at the most. And so I'm running, and I should have taken Kevin with me, but Frank put Kevin in the car, and I'm running to go get And I go in there, and there's a nurse there that I knew. And I said, hey, listen, our friend, and she says, there's no ambulances. There's nothing we can do right now. And so I run back to the car to get Kevin to bring him in, which I should have done at the beginning. But, so I don't know how long that was. I'm going to say it was about an hour. And I come back to the car. Kevin's sitting in the car, and they're just praising the Lord. They're worshiping, they're praising. I go, Kevin, come on, we got to take you to the hospital. And Kevin is like, I'm healed. I said, shut up. Got to take you to the hospital. I'm healed. I looked at his fingers. His fingers were whole. They were brand new. They were like brand new fingers, except one of them had a scratch on it. That's it. So what we did was we took off our socks. I had some thin socks and thin shoe socks on underneath my wool socks. And I took the thin ones off. We tied them together. I think we did, and then we just put it around, made it a pulley, pushed the car. It was one of those sticks. You can just pump start it. So we did the clutch, started, we got home. All right. Miracle of miracles. God provided what we needed at the time. A knife that couldn't cut butter slashed open a fan belt. A sock that was just used to keep me from hating that wool on my foot, and it used it as a fan belt. God is amazing. He'll take care of even the little things. He'll take care of the big things. He'll take care of the little things. And if you go to Matthew chapter 6, verse 33, he said, let me read it, and then we'll close with this. Matthew 6, starting with verse 33. So above all, constantly chase after the realm of God's kingdom and the righteousness that proceeds from him. Then all these less important things will be given to you abundantly. They'll be given to you abundantly, more than enough. Okay, that's all we're going to do today. I just want to thank you for joining me. Again, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and put on the little notification if you want to see me live. We can do that too. And really just share this. And if you ever wanted to just, contact me, you can go to TomandSarahMinistries@gmail.com. God bless you. Have a great day.